Good afternoon, QChurch, and welcome to our house. This afternoon, we continue our quest together, exploring what love, life, and faith look like for each of us in the 21st century. This afternoon's get-together is just one of the events running at Q. You can find out what else is going on at qyork.co.uk and select What's On. This Wednesday, we are having a movie night and showing the brilliant movie Wonder here in the main hall. Based on the New York Times bestseller, Wonder tells the incredibly inspiring and heartwarming story of August Pullman, a boy born with a face that he wants to hide, who, having been homeschooled for much of his early life, starts attending a mainstream school for the first time. The story really ties into the theme that we're exploring this afternoon and is suitable for all the family. Doors will open at the earlier time of 6:30 for a 7 p.m. start. Entry is free and everyone's welcome. If you're a guest with us this afternoon, then it is great to have you with us. If you'd like to stay in touch with what's going on here at QChurch, then you can subscribe to our free text messages by simply texting your full name to 07852 622 101. You'll also find a Welcome to Our House card on the pew in front of you, which you can fill in and hand to a steward. Here at QChurch, we believe that we are on a quest to be an ice-breaking community that can equip and support others on a pioneering path of genuine faith. If you'd like to be part of supporting the QChurch vision financially, then you can make a donation online. Just go to qyork.co.uk and click Donate, where you can give a one-off gift or set up a regular donation. If you'd like to give a cash or cheque gift this afternoon and you are a UK taxpayer, then please use the black and white envelopes in front of you. If you're not a UK taxpayer, then there's no need to use an envelope. Simply pop your gifts in the basket as we take our Pay It Forward collection later on this afternoon. Following our final song this afternoon, there will be drinks and snacks available in the foyer. We'll have half an hour to relax and have an opportunity to chat whilst our 5 to 11-year-olds have half an hour of serious fun in Life Zone. But first, life can sometimes feel like a messy, tangled web of knots. And in a world where every advert tells us what we need, it's easy to focus on what you and I are not. So this afternoon, we want to find the freedom and beauty of who we really are, as we set off on a quest to untangle the I am nots. Okay, let's have you up on your feet, everybody. This is a song we can move to tonight. Put your hands together, come on. Been so blind to the divine, beyond our heart to find. I've been designed, and we're intertwined. You're here all the time, in everything and everyone. I see you to everything and everyone. I'll be you. What is love? What is truth? I am what is power. I am what is beauty. I am what is hope. I am what is goodness. I have heaven here at hand. 'Cause who you are, I am. I look, I see divine beauty made out of the dust. What might we be if we'd just see what heaven sees in us? In everything and everyone, I see you to everything and everyone. I'll sing along if you know it. What is love? I am what is truth. I am what is power. I am what is beauty. I am what is hope. I am what's his goodness? I am, and I have heaven here at hand, 'cause who you are, stay. In everything and everyone, I see you. To everything and everyone, I'll be everybody. What's his love? I am. What's his truth? I am. What's his power? I am. What is beauty? I am. What's his hope? I am. What's his goodness? I am. And I have heaven here at hand, 'cause who you are. I am, what's his love? I am, what's his truth? I am, what's his power? I am, what's his beauty? I am, what's his hope? I am, what's his goodness? I am, 'cause I have heaven here at hand, 'cause who you are. I am. We had great fun, didn't we? It was lovely. Okay, do you know what my favourite moment from last Sunday was when we did the opening song and there was all the pictures on the screen of all the mothers in the room, and just the sense of love that there was, that every picture that came up, people were like, yeah, it's you! Yeah, it's you! And just celebrating who each other are. Now, the song we just sang was inspired by an ancient story from the Middle East, Far East, Near East, of a guy called Moses. And Moses one day is kind of minding his own business, and he comes across a shrubbery. And this shrubbery is aflame. And he starts having a chat with the shrubbery. Bit weird, but there's a great message in the story, because it turns out that the burning shrubbery represented God. And he asked God a question, which is, what's your name? What do I call you? Who should I say that you are? And the reply from this shrubbery is, I am. So the idea that we got from that, and what a few of us got quite excited about, is the fact that the idea of God might just be, I am. And the idea with that song was that we could say, what is love? What if I am? What is power? What if I am? And I think the idea is that a lot of us have grown up in a context where the idea of the divine power, the idea of the highest truth, the ultimate reality, the best goodness you could ever find, was somebody who was miles away, that you were separated from. Now, the idea of QChurch is we are on a quest. And every Sunday we get together to say, we want to find out something that maybe we haven't found before. We want to see things in a new way. Maybe rip things apart a bit and go, maybe there's a different way of seeing this. And I think the idea of God is one of those massive ones that for some of us makes us think really small. Because if God is someone that's miles away out there, then accessing that can be quite difficult, and so religion puts these things in place. Well, if you only do this and this and this and get it all right, then you can be part of this power. Whereas what we're proposing through this story of Moses is that God's saying, look in the mirror. If you want to find where the divine truth is, the highest reality is, the ultimate love, it's in the I am, it's in you. If that's true, why are we so miserable sometimes? I mean, if God's right here all the time, if he's looking back at me in the mirror, why do I get so tied up in knots, so tangled in offenses, so miserable and depressed over things? Well, maybe it's because of the I am nots. So instead of me getting up in the morning thinking, I am powerful today, I can make a difference to every single person I meet, I am love today, I can choose to overflow into other people's lives. The energy that I have, I can put into your life. The energy that you have, you can put into me. There is abundance, there is beauty. I start thinking, why didn't they put the bins out? Like, they are not reliable. They never meet my expectations. We look in the mirror and think, I am not skinny enough, big enough, strong enough, dark enough, whatever it is. And we always think of the I am nots rather than the I am. So today we want to go a bit of a journey. We're going to show some great movie clips, have some really nice songs, some great talks, and they're all designed to try and show us where we actually sometimes see the I am nots. rather than the I ams. And here is a beautiful little video to show us about that.
Good evening, everyone. We're following this line of thought tonight because it might not be something that you necessarily struggle with. Some of you are quite comfortable in your own skin and you don't tend to get very knotty, and that's wonderful. But if you're anything like me, sometimes you do get in a knot, and wrestling with those things in yourself that you see that you're not so fond of can be very tricky. And the slide on there, that it's self-acceptance is my refusal to be in an adversarial relationship to myself. There's that expression where it says we're our own worst enemy. And I can definitely see how sometimes in my life I am my own worst enemy. And it struck me recently, there was a video we played probably 2 or 3 weeks ago, where at the very start the gentleman was talking, and one of the things he said was, what if you were as kind to yourself as you are to other people? And he almost posed the challenge, really. And for some of you probably identify with the fact that you probably would be more likely to be kind to someone else than you are to yourself. And I think I most definitely sometimes fit into that category beyond a shadow of a doubt, that what I will do for somebody else is not necessarily the same self-care I would give to myself. So then you wrestle and you become almost the one person that's not looking after yourself in a world of people who actually are trying to do that for you. And then that plays out in our lives as the problems we have identified in ourselves, they then lead us to make certain choices. Now, I think we've all been there at least once. I think some of us are there more than others. And I think some of us sometimes are there for quite a long time, having a tough time with it. And so it's made me think, well, what is that all about? What are the I am nots all about? And how can we view ourselves as such a problem? And is there anything tonight that we could start to do about that to find a different experience and a transformation? Now, some would say, and many have said for many, many years, that it comes from the idea of original sin. That somehow or other, when we are born with a problem that then further down the line we either get fixed or we don't get fixed. And somehow or other that's linked to a choice that a couple of people made way, way back. And despite the fact that there was an it is finished moment in time, actually that's still a problem, and it's still a problem if you find an answer. And for some of you like me, if you've grown up around that sense of you're a problem to be fixed, you then walk around with an inbuilt belief that you're a problem that needs fixing. And that is quite tough to handle sometimes, and it carries it with you into many, many situations. And you're constantly looking for the thing that will be the fix and make everything okay. Now, if you have been with us recently, as Danny talked about in the introduction in the song, you will have heard all about this wonder of I am, this magnificent greatness that just is and that we get to be in part of. And as I've been reflecting on that and thinking all this through this week, if I am part of something that great, that wonderful, and this I amness of life, can that be intrinsically bad? Can I be bad at my core? Or might I be quite magnificent at my core? And we should all start there. Now, some of you are finding that tough to swallow, but that's okay, because we're on a quest for this. Now, I cannot always accept that who I am is okay, that I amness in me, because I've lived for a long time trying to separate good Jenny from bad Jenny. There's bits in Jenny that are great, we like those bits, let's keep those bits. And there's bits in Jenny that are bad, get rid of those bits, don't be that. And so you're constantly at war with yourself, trying to work out which bits are okay and which bits are not okay, telling yourself, I won't do that, I won't be that, I won't say that, I won't think that. And that's how we set ourselves up as an enemy. There's bits of myself that I make an enemy in myself. Now, how do we tend to treat that which we decide is an enemy? We tend to reject it. We tend to not be mean to it. We tend to say not nice things. We tend to feel angry with it. So if there's a part of ourselves that we are seeing as an enemy, we're going to treat that part of ourselves as an enemy. And is that going to solve it? I don't think I've ever sort of been able to solve a part of myself by hating that part of myself. But I think I've been able to mend a lot of things in my life by giving myself some care and love, and most importantly, often letting others do the same for me. Now, for years, I've tried to be perfect because I thought that's what I had to be, because I thought that made me holy. I thought if I could be perfect, I would be holy and I would be fixed. And then I realized, you know what, even God, when he made the world, didn't look and say it was perfect. He said it was good. So then for many years, I thought, well, I'm going to be good then. I'm going to be really good. I'm going to be really good at looking after everybody and looking after the world, and I'm going to be really good. But even being really good sometimes feels a little bit of a stretch. And recently we had a thing in the back hall where we were talking all through some stuff. And I know sometimes you can't make it on a Wednesday, but if you are ever able to come along, sometimes you get a chance to chat stuff through that you might find confusing that you hear. And it's really good to chat with other people's perspective. And we were talking about this a few weeks ago, and on my table they said to me, well, why don't you just try being Jenny? And I was like, I could just try that. I might be able to just manage that. Try being one being, just walking my journey, trying to find the wonder that is me amidst some of the things that I might trip up along the way. Now, the paradox in all of this is if I was to, and you were to, actually start to just decide I'm going to be one being here. I'm not going to try and separate off the good, the bad, and work out which is which. I'm just going to be in it, me, trying to find that self-care and acceptance for my life. Those things that you're perhaps wanting to change, they would probably change, because instead of treating those bits of yourself that you don't like in a destructive way because they're an enemy, you'd start to look after them, you'd start to nurture them, you'd start to care about them, and anything that's cared and nurtured tends to go in a better direction than anything that's attacked. So we're going to pursue this a little bit more tonight and see where we end up. And one of the things that we've been also learning about recently is that if we are I am, we're breathing, we're alive, we're breathing, and we're a being. And sometimes it would do us good to just understand that actually to breathe in and out as ourselves is actually good enough a lot of the time, and sometimes very underrated as we hold our breath through life with all the tension of trying to wrestle. So enjoy this song, have a good breathe in and out, and we'll carry on our journey in a few moments. Thank you.
Everybody draws their very first breath with your name upon their lips. Every one of us is born of dust, but comes alive with heaven's kiss. 'Cause the name of God is the sound of our breathing. Hallelujahs rise on the wings of our hearts beating. So breathe in, breathe out, speak it aloud. Whoa, whoa, whoa. The glory surrounds, this is the sound. Whoa, whoa. Moses barefoot in the burning bush wants to know who spoke to him. The answer is unspeakable, like the rush of a gentle wind. 'Cause the name of God is the sound of our breathing. Hallelujahs rise on the wings of our hearts beating. So breathe in, breathe out, speak it aloud. Whoa, whoa. The glory surrounds, this is the sound. Whoa, whoa. Dollars and deceivers, skeptics and believers, we speak it just the same. From birth to death, every single breath is whispering your name. 'Cause the name of God is the sound of all breathing. Hallelujahs rise on the wings of our hearts beating. So breathe in, breathe out, We speak the name as long as we are breathing. So breathe in, breathe out, speak it aloud. Whoa, whoa, the glory surrounds. This is the sound. Whoa, whoa, breathe in, breathe out, speak it aloud. Whoa, whoa, the glory surrounds. This is the sound. Whoa, whoa, everybody draws that very first breath with your name upon their lips. Every one of us is born of dust, but comes alive with heaven's kiss.
I got it. You have to nick one of those ones this time. We're going to play a game. How exciting. Oh, I thought it was more exciting than that, apparently.
It is when there's chocolate on the
Oh,
line.
we're going to play a game for chocolate. Oh, yeah, okay. It's going to be that great. Okay, we need 2 teams.
We do need 2 teams. 2 teams of 5. So who wants to win the chocolate?
Can we have some lights? Because I think I'm
we
just
need
going to pick
grown-ups
really
and,
quick.
And kids. Steve's up for it. He loves chocolate. As a
Tom
diabetic.
is in the house, so Tom is going to come and play. He was just trying to volunteer his lady friend next to him,
Charlie,
but I'm
you
going to
gonna
make
play?
him come and do it instead. Tom's going to come up and do this.
Otherwise, I'm going to have to pick my life.
Is he youth worker now? This is his life.
James, is that a hand? Oh, come on.
Right, okay.
Riley, you two
Mick, come
coming
on.
up.
Mick, you're
Come on
good
in.
at this. Oh.
This
You
is the
can't just
point where
swap
everyone's
teams.
like, pick me.
Right, I need some. Let's
Emily
have a
and Millie,
look.
you come in?
You need to be particularly
No.
flexible for this one. I'm going to put it out there. Flexible is the
Stevie,
key.
do you fancy to play?
Esther, you're particularly flexible. Come on, you can
You're
be
gonna have to be
flexible.
on stage for this
Show
one.
your
It's a
friend
bit of
how
a
it's done.
physical one.
Who have we got? I've
Come
got
on,
Esther
James.
coming. I think we should put Esther on the same team as Mick, or it might get violent. So come on. We don't need any violence tonight.
We do need some more.
Father,
Come on, I need
daughter
some
can be on the
more.
same
There's
team.
chocolate
Right,
on the line
I've
here,
got.
people.
Who we got? You
Jenny
need some.
Stevie, come
Oh,
on. She's always up for a bit of fun and games.
it's not messy. It's not
It's
messy.
not messy. There is no
We need
chocolate
another one over
involved
this
in this one
side.
other than
Shirley,
winning
are
the
you
chocolate.
volunteering? Come on, Shirley, then.
Shirley, yes.
Shirley, come on my team. Oh, I feel like now they're all a lot smaller. I'm putting it out. Oh,
Are you coming?
right.
Yeah, come on, Jen. we
Come on,
need one
Jen.
more.
Yeah, it's
Excellent.
all right. Jen's coming.
That's like
I
blood
just
from a
want to put it
stone,
out there. This team are a lot smaller in height than this team. So that'll be interesting to see if that makes a difference.
Let's take a Charlie over here.
I'll take a Charlie
go.
over
Jen,
here.
you can join this
Oh, and a
team.
Jen over there. Okay, that's good. That's good. Okay. Right, so the aim of this game is you've got to untangle your knot. So we need you to stand in a little circle. Can you stand in a circle? Team, in a circle. I'm sure those of you who are seasoned in the youth work will have played this before. Okay, you have to cross your hands across and hold hands with somebody who's not next to you. And then the same again with the other hand till you're all tangled. There we go. Good job. Don't move. Stay there. This team are taking a bit longer to get the hang of it. We'll just wait for them. I feel like this bodes well, team. If they can't even understand the game, we're winning. We're okay. Correct. So, the purpose of this game is you have to untangle your knot without letting go of any hands. So somehow you have to work it. Tom's already strategically planning how this is going to work out. He's like,
Okay,
you're
I
going
think
to go
we're all
here.
set this side.
Are we ready?
Okay, this side of the room, I need some cheers for this side.
And this
They're gonna
side, we need to cheer for this
moral
side. Are you ready?
support here.
3, 2,
2,
1,
1,
go!
Let's have some tunes
whoa,
still,
they were
Sega.
up. They were up. Hang on a minute.
Come on,
that
I need
was
some
really
encouragement
fast.
this time.
Oh, what's going on over there? Come on, give him a cheer.
Don't let
give
go
him
of
a
those
cheer.
hands.
That's nice. Look at that.
Good work, this team.
That's
Come
good.
on.
Okay, they're doing what?
You're nearly there.
Oh. Hey!
Oh.
Apparently that was... I don't. What do you reckon? Are we
Mick
done? I
Fox
think
is
we're
a
done.
professional at
He
this,
is,
I think.
and Tom is now also a professional.
Charlie, hand
So
them round for your
good job.
team.
Pass them to your team. Well done. Round of applause, everyone, for our knots that are no longer knots. Brilliant.
Are we live? Yes, good afternoon. As you can see, I am competitive. I am not competitive, Steve, much. But But we're talking about I am nots. And I said to Jenny this week that I'd like to talk this afternoon about my journey and where I am today, not where I was, but where I am now. And have we got a slide? Maybe coming up now? Yeah, there we go. This slide is for my daughter because she keeps accusing me of always looking at life with rose-tinted glasses. And I think it's important that no matter what we go through, that I always try to look on the positive. And I think it is important. And that's for my daughter because a few years ago, my lovely wife Sarah had a little bit of cancer and went into hospital. And my little daughter, when she was about 5 or 6, I just said to her, she's just gone in for a little operation. She'll be back in a few days. And they keep reminding me now how serious it was. But at the time, it was a little operation, and we move on. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is me. And I am one person who tries to look at the positive side of things. I'm a Monty Python fan, and The Life of Brian was out many, many years ago. And there's one song at the end, always look on the bright side of life. And I think that is so important these days. There's a lot of stuff happening, and there's a lot of stuff happening with me. After my wife, I got a little bit of cancer a few years later, and, I went in, had the operation. I'm here today, and I'm thankful to God for that, So, yeah, always look on the positive side of things. But I'll just go back a few years. That wasn't always the case with me. Next slide, please. This verse is a real. It really helps me. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. I've got a mind. Each one of you've got a mind. But it's important that we try and retrain our brain. And we get told all sorts of stuff, all sorts of rubbish. We don't get it taught here, I'm afraid, which is great. We get taught some great stuff here. But I think it's important. As I was growing up when I was a teenager, and when I look at all these young people taking exams and the pressure of exams, etc. And my dad taught me a very important lesson when I was young. There's no such word as can't. And that's always been stuck in the middle of my brain. There is no such word as can't. So if there's a mountain out there, as my wife will testify when we were on our honeymoon, there was a mountain outside our lodge. We're going to climb that mountain. It's only 3,000 feet. Let's do it. Let's go for it. There's nothing insurmountable. Yes. Resilience. Next slide, please. So I was thinking about I am not. So in your life, every day, you can think these things. And I've put them all in brackets. But you can say, I am not able. But I prefer to say, I am able. You can say, I am not loved. I prefer to say, I am loved. The next one's very important. I am not teachable. Kids, don't listen to that one. I am teachable. And I think the important thing is that whatever stage of life you're in, you can always learn something new. As my wife says to me, every day is a school day. And the last one, Steve and me, we like this saying, don't we? There's no I in team. I think this is a fantastic team here. I'm a part of this team, and I love to play on this team. I might be competitive, but I love to play as part of a team. And I think if we all play our part, we can achieve great things. And the last slide, there we go. We've cut out the knots. And I am able, I am loved, I am teachable, I am a team player. That's me, and that's my journey. And Esther, there's the rose-tinted glasses. They're still on. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you.
What I love about that clip is that so often, it just shows how so often the reason why we don't want to go round again is because we've been hurt. So what we learn is our own religion. And you don't have to be religious in church. It's actually the religion of those, it's just the internal rules that we've put in place to make life work for us. It's the things we think, right, last time I did that, it got that outcome. I'm not going to do that again because I don't want that outcome again. And it makes absolute, total sense why we live our life religiously, because all sorts of religion will identify what our problem is. And then it helps us then, because we then have ways that we learn how to fix our own problems. So we identify the problem, we put things in place that makes it feel like that problem is fixed. We've then become the fixer of our own problem, which gives us some weird sense of being strong enough to have handled it, but it never quite fully solves it. Now, what happens, many people understand it to be a part of you that is an ego. And you might have heard of people or even referred to people of having a large ego. And actually, there is a term, there is actually a mechanism. Mick talked about the renewing of the mind. There is actually a thing in your mind that kicks in to protect you. And Chris said the other week, what did she say? I am not a tiger and this is not a cave. There are things in us that instinctively, if we recognize that we could be potentially unsafe, a bit of us kicks in that says, whoa, this is not safe, I will avoid all pain. And it automatically triggers a reaction in you that you go to so in order to make sure that you and your world are safe. It's the same sort of thing that if, you put your hand near a fire, it would be hot, you would sort of involuntarily pull away. But what can happen is if that part of us is the bit that's ruling the roost and calling all the shots in our life, it gets to be that bigger part of us that can think stuff through, that can look around, that can ask for support, that can take time to understand a thing, that it doesn't have to be just driven by our first reaction, but can step back and say, oh, wow, that was a strange reaction. And rather than reject that reaction, think, okay, I'm feeling that, I'm going with that. Let's not reject that thing in me that I see, but let's take time to think it through and work out what is going on in me and how might I be able to get support to see my way through it. Now, actually, I've lost my place. So hard to do this without notes. One day. Now, the question comes for most of us, as it did for that girl in La La Land. If we have experienced something repeatedly, something that makes us feel unsafe, and then someone, perhaps even me tonight, steps into your world and says, do you know what? That thing you've believed about yourself, that thing that you see as your big fat knot that you can't ever get over, will you give that another shot? Will you actually see that maybe, just maybe, that's a part of you that can become something great? That's a part of you that is already great. It just needs another opportunity to stand in the light, and it might be your breakthrough. So listen to the person who may have been bruised, who may have been hurt by some stuff in the past, but still say, this is me. You know which song's coming next, don't you? Now I've said that line. But actually, the reason why a lot of us love that song and love that show is because that's the woman in that, The Greatest Showman, if you've not seen it, has been rejected her whole life and has been put in shadows her whole life and has been told there is no place for you, you are not okay. And one day she gets enough about her and enough strength from within who she has always been to say, actually, I am all right. I don't have to live in shadows because actually I'm all right. Now, our I am nots don't have any power to transform your life. And we all wrestle sometimes with what we call our inner demons, our things that we don't like about ourselves. But for as long as we are resisting all of those things inside us, it's not going to actually change. If you can actually dare today to start caring about the bits of yourself that you don't like by paying attention to them, by getting with someone to talk about them, by actually paying some time to say, what is going on in me, and start to nurture and look after those areas of your life, they can become your greatest strength. I'm absolutely convinced of it, because none of us are perfect. A guy called Dallas Willard once said, if there is such a thing as human perfection, it seems to emerge from how we handle the imperfection that is everywhere, especially our own. And as we start to accept our own what we perceive to be imperfections, it's easier not to reject those things when we see them in others. Sometimes what we don't like about other people is actually a mirror of what we don't like in ourselves. So to actually be able to start loving and accepting us in all of our glory as we journey on this brilliant thing called life can be really, really quite a fantastic experience. And that, for me, is what I Am's all about. That's how you get your knots untangled. And I know that Beth's going to wrap up at the end and hopefully give you some advice on what you can possibly do about this next. But for now, we are going to embrace our unified selves. This is me in all of our glory. So sing along and enjoy. Thank you.
I am not a stranger to the dark. Hide away, they say. We don't want your broken parts. Learn to be ashamed of all my scars. Run away, they say. No one will love you as you are, but won't let them break me down to dust. I know that there's a place for us, for we are glorious. When the sharpest words want to cut me down, I'm gonna stand a flag, gonna drown them out. I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be. This is me. Look out, 'cause here I come, and I'm marching on to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen. I make no apologies. This is me. Oh, oh, another round of bullets hits my skin. We'll fire away, 'cause today I won't let the shame sink in. We are bursting through the barricades, reaching for the sun. We are warriors. Yeah, that's what we've become. Won't let them break me down to dust. I know that there's a place for us, for we are glorious. When the sharpest words gonna cut me down, I'm gonna stand a flag, gonna drown them out. I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be. This is me. Look out, 'cause here I come, and I'm marching on to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen. I make no apologies. This is me. Oh, 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 this is me. Oh, and I know the light is when the sharpest words wanna cut me down, I'm gonna stand a flag, gonna drown them out. This is brave, this is bruised, this is who I'm meant to be. This is me. Look out, 'cause here I come. I'm marching on to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen. I make no apologies. This is me. Oh, 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 this is me. Right. So it's my job to wrap up tonight. And we've wrestled with this topic all week. And it concluded in a conversation between me and Jenny last night where I was saying, I just don't know how to wrap all of this up. But the reality is, for me, I see things very practically and very logically in many ways. And so I wanted tonight to offer my version of what we've said tonight in a very simple and basic way that hopefully, if you haven't got what Jenny said, which I really hope you have because that was brilliant, but if you haven't got that and you just need a simple instruction
guide, then this will be it, okay? So, life continually throws stuff at us, okay? And I've got a list, if that helps. Things like things we can't do, things we're not, things that hurt us, things that make us feel insecure, things that others say, things that make us feel shamed, things we regret, and things that others do that affect us. Now, that's not an endless list. That's just a quick list that I came up with last night, and very, very quickly. But once I started looking through that list, I thought, actually, I can think of some examples from my life where stuff has happened that has laid a foundation for my knots. It's been the first knot in the web, so to speak. And I haven't realized that it's had that impact on me until looking back, and I can see where I've been. And so an example of that would be when I was 3.5, 4-ish, so we're going back a bit now. I was probably about Sophie's age. And when I was that age, I went to a play group, and they put on a play. Now, being the actress that I am, or not so much, I wanted to be in this play. And I don't think there was auditions at 3.5. I'm pretty certain there wasn't auditions. I think they just gave us a part. And we got the letter, and I got home and opened the letter, and the letter said I was going to be Sleeping Beauty in the play Sleeping Beauty. So, that's pretty much as good as it gets at 3.5. If you're going to be Sleeping Beauty in the play Sleeping Beauty, you have made it. I was over the moon. It was very exciting, brilliant. Next day, finished nursery, came home, full of the joys of life, I'm sure, at 3.5, 4-ish. And my mum said, just so you know, you're not going to be Sleeping Beauty anymore. And now, I don't really remember being 3.5 and 4 that much, but I have been told that my reaction was disappointed, as I can imagine. I was upset that I wasn't going to be Sleeping Beauty, and I wanted to know why I wasn't going to be Sleeping Beauty. Well, Sophie, a different Sophie, we love this Sophie very much. We also love that Sophie, but just through gritted teeth. But the other Sophie, her mum had been in and complained and said that her Sophie was a model for mother care, and therefore she should be Sleeping Beauty. But my mum said, but don't worry, Beth, you've got the second biggest part. You're going to be the bad witch. Now, I don't know if any other 3.5-year-olds are in here, but I'm pretty certain at 3.5, nobody wants to be the bad witch. It doesn't happen. But being the compliant that I am, that was maybe forced into me, I don't know. But being that compliant person, I was the bad witch. The only upside was I didn't have to kiss Tim Perry. That was definitely the bonus. But other than that, I was upset. And there's a photo of me in this play, sitting on the edge of the stage, doing what looks like just slamming my feet against the fascia of the stage and just banging it away. I was pretty cross that I'd been substituted. But the reason I tell you that story is, looking back, it's very funny, and it's amusing to think that happened. But the reality is that laid a foundation for me, and that things got added to. And very quickly, like weeds or a virus, things get added and it grows, and the web becomes bigger and bigger. And I suddenly start to believe certain things about myself, like I am not that important, that I am second best, that other people always come first, that my opinion doesn't matter. And those things are massive when you become an adult. They're not so big when you're 3, but they are massive when you're an adult. Now, I'm really good at boxing stuff off. And so when we and Jenny had this conversation last night, I, like Mick, think, actually, generally, I pretty much have rose-tinted lenses on, and I can see things pretty well, and I've put that in a box, and it's over here, and it's okay. But I am aware that actually it did lay a foundation for me, and I've had to learn how to deal with that. So, I'm going to tell you where we're up to now. So, basically, this is tonight in a nutshell. We have 2 versions of ourselves, the I ams and the I am nots, and you get to pick which one you focus all your attention on. If you spend all your time focusing your attention, like maybe I could have done, on my nots, on the things that I am not, then I'm going to tell you what you become. You become weighed down with inferiority. I'll get weighed down with my inability and my unworthiness and my lack, and that is huge, because if I spend all my life focusing on that, I'm not going to be able to achieve very much in my life at all. The alternative is you focus on the good stuff. You focus on the I ams, the things that you are, the things that you're not capable of, that you are capable of, and that you can do brilliantly. So you have that option tonight. You can go away tonight and you can think, well, there's all this stuff that I am not. Or you can go away and you can think, there's all that stuff that I am. And actually, you stand half a chance of doing something brilliant. So our call to action tonight is this. I want to tell you three questions that you can go away with tonight to challenge yourself with this message. 1, what are my I am nots, or the knots that you found yourselves in? The things you believe about yourself and others that are stopping you moving forward. Number 2, what am I not doing because of these things and the beliefs that are getting in the way? And number 3, what are my or others' I ams that I could shift my focus to that would allow me to move forward and be free to experience more? Now, the thing that really helped me in realizing how I deal with my knots is I looked at a more recent example. When I had Ada, who is now 8 months old, for the first 3 months, I struggled. I compared myself to other mums. I saw how other mums operated, and I suddenly thought, I am out of my depth. I've worked with young people for the last however many years, and suddenly I have a baby, and I don't know what to do with her. People are telling me what to do. People are telling me what I should do, what I should be, where I should go, the things I should say, what I should feed her. There's this whole list of things that I should do, and I have absolutely no idea what to do. And last night, Jenny said, well, what changed that? What made you feel like, actually, I am a good mum. I am capable of doing this. I am going to be brilliant for Ada as she grows up. And what I realized is, the point I worked out that some of these mums who, on the outside, professed to be perfect, once I realized that they were not perfect, I allowed myself to not be perfect. And I realized that actually, I don't have to focus on that stuff that I'm not anymore. I can just focus on the stuff that I am. So the message tonight is this: I am not perfect, you're not perfect, and that's okay. And equally, that works the other way around. When you are struggling with somebody else and the stuff that they are being or not being, they're not perfect, but you're not perfect, and that's okay. So if you take nothing else from tonight, take that, because actually that will allow you to focus on your I ams and not your I am nots.
Thank you.
I keep fighting voices in my mind that say I'm not enough. Every single lie that tells me I will never measure up. Am I more than just the sum of every high and every low? Remind me once again just who I am, because I need to know. Whoa, you say I am loved when I can't feel a thing. You say I am strong when I think I am weak. You say I am held when I'm falling short, when I don't belong. You say I am yours, and I believe, oh, I believe what you say of me. I believe the only thing that matters now is everything you think of me. In you I find my worth.